Okay. Hello, everyone. I have to say hello to everyone, every single OC fan right here, right now, who is watching, because right now, I have to tell you one thing. I decided to make a reaction to this. Sorry, I have to check out the chat if everything is okay, if the sound is okay. It looks like I'm not still offline online. So you have to wait a little bit. Does it work? Okay. I'm gonna check out if it's working or not. Yes, I'm online. Yes? Yes, you could hear me now. Perfect. So we're online. It's perfect. Okay, so we can start. Finally, we can start. Hey everyone, and welcome to this live stream reaction for the newest DOC podcast from Rachel Bilson and Melinda Clarke. I was pretty excited, and today it's the day when it's online and we can finally check it out. It will be perfect and amazing, and we have to really check it out. So I will not be talking much longer, and let's go for this. So you can find this here on Spotify. You will find it here on Spotify, and that's it. You can see, welcome to the OC bitches, Rachel Bilson and Melinda Clarke. So, you can read about. It was everything what was said in the trailer. So right now we're gonna check out the pilot with Josh Schwartz, who is... I'm not gonna spoil. Okay, let's read it. Rachel and Melinda break down the pilot episode with guest, the OC creator and executive producer Josh Schwartz. Find out what song from the show Josh can't stand to listen to anymore, the scene that almost wasn't, and how these two guest stars became series regulars. Pilot synopsis. Troubled teen Ryan Atwood is arrested for stealing a car and meets public defender Sandy Cohen, who instantly takes an interest in the boy. After Ryan's mom kicks him out, Sandy brings Ryan home with him, introducing him to the affluent world of Orange County, Newport Beach. Leave the OC message, and you can leave them a message here. You can support their sponsors, which are here, and you can have some special discount with your first order, which is pretty nice. Here you can see free shipping, and it's pretty crazy and awesome. Let's go for the first episode right now. Let's go. Sound is perfectly working. I'm gonna separate it into few parts. I think we're not gonna listen to the 96 minutes the whole time. I think I'm not gonna make it, but I have to try it. So, we're loading.
This is our first episode of the podcast. Welcome to the OC bitches. That's how it goes.
Welcome to the OC Bitches, the podcast where we rewatch the OC as both cast members, but also fans. Each week, we're breaking down an episode, often with the help of former cast members, crew, celeb fans, and other guests who have something to say about the cultural phenomenon that was the OC.
Nice.
No pressure.
Yeah. It was a cultural phenomenon. Rachel Bilson, Ms. Bilson, how are you on this fine day?
I'm doing splendid. How are you, Mindy?
I'm fantastic. This is our first episode. We should let the audience know we've been working on this for a while. So I just want to acknowledge Cast Media. Thank you so much for having us. Besides Rachel and myself, we have our producer, Diana. We might hear from her from time to time. But Rachel, there's someone here with us, and he's probably the reason we're all here. So I'll let you take it from here.
Probably. Not definitely. Josh Schwartz. Hello.
Hello. Hi,
Josh.
Melinda. How are you?
I'm fantastic. Thanks for coming.
The creator of the OC, for those who are not aware. Also, executive producer, because, might as well put that out there.
Yeah, sure. Give all my credits. Craft service.
But he created this world that we all have grown to love.
True.
Did you finally grow to love it?
I'm working on it.
Okay, good.
I'm evolving. Yeah. So Josh is sitting here with me in my closet today.
It's true. We're in the closet. Yes.
My office closet.
It's a lot of handbags in here. Just want to throw that out there.
Really? Well, I happen to be in behind me. I don't know if anybody remembers, but this poster, my daughter was 7 when we finished, and everybody signed it. She's had it up in her room ever since.
She used to always say, "Hi, Josh Schwartz." Shorts.
Yeah, Shorts.
Josh Schwartz.
Josh Schwartz.
She did.
Yeah.
Can you
was so
believe
little.
that? She was 3 when it started. I was just a young new mommy,
Wow.
and now she's 21, junior in college.
Wow.
So
That's crazy.
I think it's been so interesting rewatching the show, because I was such a baby, just a new mom at the time. So now I've gone through the teen years. I'm looking at the show with a completely different set of eyes. And
That's true.
I understand that
Me
teen
neither.
angst a lot more.
I'm not looking forward to that. All right. You probably aren't. You're almost there, though.
I have a 9-year-old daughter now, my oldest, and she desperately wants to watch, and I'm like, absolutely not. No way.
No way.
Why?
No.
CG would not
Why?
watch it. She got into Gossip Girl and
Sorry.
Vampire Diaries, and finally, a couple years ago, she finally watched, because I kept telling her, I said, "Look, those other shows are great, but you have to understand this was a brand new show. It was a fresh take on an old genre." And I just went. I would talk about it on, and she finally just said, "I don't want to see you kissing young men, Mom." And I said, "Well,
You
that
kissed
happened
all
in
kinds of
Vampire
men.
Diaries."
You did. You
Kissed
kissed a
all
lot.
ages of men.
There's a wide range
A
there.
whole spectrum of men. I don't think she should just pigeonhole you like that.
It is true. Well, for those of you listening who don't know, Josh Schwartz is also responsible for Gossip Girl with his
Stephanie
partner
Savage,
with Stephanie
yes.
Savage.
Yep.
I was
All
getting
right.
there.
Well, I'm just making sure.
Jesus.
All right.
Yes.
Like to share credit.
You should, as she deserves.
Yes, she does.
Yes. So he's quite popular with the youth out there. We'll see when Stella hits like 15, if that holds true.
God help me.
Yes.
Well, it's been an honor to rewatch this.
It's true. Rewatching the pilot, I was like, man, this is good. Like, I was really emotional, and it was so good. Like, I was, you know what you're doing.
I didn't know what I was doing, actually.
How old were you when you wrote it?
Wow.
When I wrote it, well, I don't know, 26.
And it got made, you were 27 when it was made, right?
Yeah.
When we started going?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And you were, because of course I've done a lot of research, but this wasn't the first show that you actually have produced, right?
No, it was. I mean, I'd written pilots, but they hadn't gotten
okay.
made. And, this was the first thing I ever did that made it to the television airwaves.
To the air. And
Yes.
and you were actually the youngest creator in history at the time, or is that still hold
What?
true?
I haven't
What?
checked. I don't know.
You don't
I don't
refresh
just,
the
yeah,
Google
exactly,
on that?
Yeah, making sure my record holds. But I don't know.
That's pretty
I
At
insane.
the time,
He was.
I guess.
Tell our audience. I
Yes.
think I know what the official story is, but how you were introduced to Orange County and how it all came apart. How it all came
How
to
came
be.
apart? That's later. That's around season 3. Yeah, I went to, I'm from Providence, Rhode Island, and I went to USC for college and film school. And that was like my first introduction to the Newport Beach, Orange County water polo playing community that I was not really familiar with before as a Jewish kid from the East
Yeah,
Coast.
shocking, really.
Thank you. I know. It's
Wow.
amazing to believe.
I believe.
But so that was my sort of introduction to that world and those people, just as kind of an outsider myself. And And a couple years out of college, really, I went in for a general meeting with Stephanie Savage, who, as we mentioned, did Gossip Girl with. And at the time, she was partnered with McGee,
right,
the director, at his production company. And we just sat down and had a general meeting, and we're talking about areas or ideas or just worlds. And Orange County, Newport Beach came up because that's where McGee was from. And they didn't really have much beyond that, just wanting to kind of look into that world. And I said, well, I feel like I know that world, and I know that world from an outsider's point of view because USC there was like a direct pipeline from Newport Beach directly into USC. Went off and came back with some characters, and it just evolved from there. And then we pitched it late for pilot season, which normally if you're pitching a show for pilot season, so that's when you write your, I don't know how deep we're going here into like how television
how
works.
It works.
Yeah.
You can give a little bit.
All right, cut me
summary.
off when I'm getting real boring.
Cliff note it.
Okay. So they basically, there's like a pitching season for shows that you would then shoot in the spring that would be on the air in the fall if they got ordered. And normally you're pitching like in the summer. So I don't remember exactly when we pitched, but it was quite late in the fall, like October or November. Went in with an incredibly detailed pitch, dialogue, acting it all out. And they ordered it. And then they said, not only are we ordering it, but we want you to be prepared to put the show on in the summer. And so while we were shooting the pilot, we actually had a writer's room going in a trailer offset. And so I was kind of running back and forth between shooting the pilot, and then we had to edit the first 2 weeks of the pilot footage together.
Whoa.
And turn that in. And I had to make a Bible of things that were going to happen in the first season. I feel like probably only 30% of which actually made it into the show, but they just needed to see like that there was an idea of where the show could go. Anyway, they ordered the show, and we were up and running and kind of almost into immediate production and on the air in August, which is very, very aggressive and fast. And if you remember, we did 27 episodes in season 1.
Do they even do that anymore? Like, do any shows do 27? That's kind of...
It's insane.
It's insane. It's like 9 months out of something like that. It was
it's
long
longer.
Yeah, that was longer. We did 25 in season 3. But yeah, now everything's like 8 episodes or 10 episodes. So 27 was quite a thing.
I have to be honest, doing research just for our little podcast, I'm dreaming the OC. I'm thinking about things I can talk about. I'm researching. There's so much content and things written about this show. How do you, just as a writer, and I explain to people that showrunners just have such a unique place in this industry where you have to be writing for shows in the future and also be on top of what's being shot. And that's just how do you keep it all together? And you just have a great support team. You have so many extra writers as well as producers.
It's all about the team. And we were fortunate. I was fortunate. I mean, I had Stephanie obviously with me, Bob DeLaurentis, who I hope you guys have a chance to talk to, because at my age and inexperience level, they were not going to just like let me run the show by myself. So I met with like multiple different potential showrunners, all of whom you could tell were just kind of like, I can't wait for this kid to like fall, and then the show will be mine. And Bob is just the sweetest, most generous, kindest person.
Love
and
Bob.
He was like, look, you do what you do. I'll handle all the stuff that, you can kind of learn as we go. Cause there's so much in show running. There's the writing and story and all that kind of stuff. But then there's a whole other facet of it, which is, budgets and schedules and which, doesn't come naturally it's a weird combination of like right brain, left brain. So we were able to kind of split responsibilities there, but he was also super helpful in the room. Alan Heinberg was a great asset in that first season. So we had lots of really just good people around. Ian Toynton, who I think you guys are going to talk to, who became our
resident
producing director.
Yeah.
So we just had an incredible team, Norman Buckley and Matt Ramsey and Post. So it was just an all around great team that you kind of put together. Season 1 of any show is like a startup company, and so some of it's going to be a good fit, some of it's not, and you just kind of evolve in them. But hopefully by season 2, things become more
like well-oiled machine.
Well-oiled machine, exactly. Yeah.
Well, it's true. I mean, there's so many factors that go into it. So I think having the right people behind the scenes as well as the right, actors hopefully feel that way.
Well, I was going to say, you guys made our lives a lot easier, and it was kind of instantaneous, just all of the cast chemistry, just all the different dynamics that were on screen. And I mean, both of you just had kind of like a smaller introductions.
Yeah, we were guest stars.
In the
we
first
were not,
episode.
yeah.
But it was
Right.
immediate, apparently. Like, apparently, wait, what the fuck am I talking about? Let's edit that part out. It was immediately apparent, is what I'm trying to say.
Got it.
That like there was so much more to write for you guys, even in those like small. You came out and were like in your juicy sweatsuit and making Jimmy go get you some froyo.
Pistachio.
Yeah, and it was hilarious.
Do you have
and it
any
was like,
froyo?
yeah,
Which you
froyo.
actually, I listened to the commentary. I found the commentary from the first season, and you called it that Jimmy getting Julie's froyo equaled suburban death. That's what you called it.
Well, as someone who's gotten my fair share of froyo, I can say that is true. That is true. I was very
pretty
prescient. Yeah.
Well, you
yeah.
make a good point that, I mean, it was such a learning experience for myself, still being what I consider quite young.
Yeah,
that
no, we were definitely
we
fudging
have
some dates on how you could have a teenage daughter back then.
I could have been a teenage mom. I was 33 when it started.
Which is outrageous.
But
Yeah.
But it was one of those things when you realize that as an actor on a series, we have the opportunity and the ability. We show up on time with the dialogue memorized, and then take some chances or experiment, and whether it works or doesn't. And hopefully, what I'm doing is adding to the creative process and inspiring the writers to write for me or say, "Ooh, we did this, or she did that. Let's find a storyline for these characters deep into the future, whether it's 1 season, 2 seasons." I mean, that's got to be. You have to have a certain mindset to write a show for that many seasons. And
yeah, I mean that's the fun part about long form television is when you're writing the pilot, you haven't cast anybody yet, right? So you're just writing these characters, and then as you find the right actors for those parts, sometimes they come in and they're exactly what you had in mind, and sometimes they come in and they really surprise you, and you're like, oh, that's way better than what I thought.
I feel like Summer was definitely not. I was definitely not what you envisioned for Summer, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, no, I think like Holly was probably like more of the
Holly
summer shape.
from season 1, like blonde, like more maybe beach looking, Southern California. Even though I'm from LA, I'll have you.
Yeah, but the Valley.
But I'm little and brunette, so.
Yeah, but Rachel came in and said, I got to pee, you got to pee. That was like her big line in the pilot. And we're like, that was hilarious. Just in the same way that Froyo was hilarious. And it's like these little moments where you just have a world into who that character could become. And so that's the fun part about long form TV is that you get to kind of evolve the characters and line up their voices with the actors, and I mean, that was a huge part of the collaboration with Brody. Was kind of getting his idiosyncrasies and his performance styles and the stuff he would throw away and the stuff that he would lean into. And, Peter and I mean, everybody really, it was about writing towards everybody's strengths.
And you did that so well. You really did like pay attention.
There was a lot of eavesdropping.
There was a lot of eavesdropping. I mean, that's why Golden Girls comes
That
into
is why,
play.
yeah.
I'm a big fan.
Yeah.
And
or figuring out like that Ben could be really funny, even though the character was obviously written to be more dramatic in the beginning, and getting what Ben's comedic timing was and starting to lean into that a little bit. And also just the way he and Adam would play off each other. There's just all those kind of opportunities. And the way obviously Peter and Kelly and the family dynamics. There was just a lot of, we always talked about also that you could kind of pull the kids out of the show, and the show about this Jewish guy from the Bronx who's a liberal, who's now living in this conservative enclave in Newport Beach and is married like the blonde shiksa, of his dreams. And she happens to be living next door to her high school, or, close by her high school sweetheart. Or I guess next door, actually, yes.
Quite literally.
Yeah, quite literally. We had to use so many different locations as our exteriors. But yeah, so next door to her childhood high school sweetheart, who's now married to this woman who's going to like devour him alive and whose motives were not always clear in the beginning. That was a show in and of itself, just the sort of these 4 adults.
We've all got goals. Be healthy, find work-life balance, improve our relationships. But have you thought about your hair goals?
I definitely have. Function of Beauty is the world leader in customizable beauty,
Here we have the
offering precise
advertisement.
formulations for your hair's specific needs. You know what? I just love this product. I do. I love that I can customize the formula for my own needs. And
Function
I
of
don't know about
beauty.
you, but
Yeah?
after this last year, I had to become
Am I
like my
right?
own beautician. You know, I color my own hair and I even cut my own bangs. But now
Looks
I
great.
get to make my own formulation, you know?
So not only does it smell amazing, because I used the scent in mine, but I washed my hair like 4 days ago and it's still glossy and it looks great. It feels great. I am very, very happy with this product.
I picked this color and I also got to name it. And you know what I named it?
What'd you name it?
Coop, as in
Well-
Cooper.
How appropriate is that?
I got the mango grapefruit smell. It's
Ooh.
delicious. My husband loves it too.
Okay, well, here's how you get started. First, take a quick but thorough quiz to tell them a little bit about your hair type and your hair goals, such as the length, volume, and oil control.
And because your hair changes with the season, you can change your hair goals before every shipment.
Right. Next, you choose your color and fragrance, or go fragrance and dye free. I might try that next time, actually. Then, Functions team determines the perfect blend of ingredients, bottles your formula, and delivers it right to you.
Never buy off the shelf just to be disappointed ever again. Go to functionofbeauty.com/OC to take your quiz and save 20% on your first order.
Oh, here.
That applies to your full range of customized hair, skin, and body products. Go to functionofbeauty.com/OC to let them know we sent you and get 20% off your order. Functionofbeauty.com/OC. I'm hungry.
Flash it.
Uh-oh.
HelloFresh. With HelloFresh, you get fresh, pre-measured ingredients and mouth-watering seasonal recipes delivered right to your door. Skip trips to the grocery store and count on HelloFresh to make home cooking easy, fun, and affordable. And that's why it's America's #1 meal kit.
HelloFresh cuts out stressful meal planning and grocery store trips, so you can enjoy cooking and get dinner on the table in about 30 minutes or less. Super helpful for a busy mom like me.
HelloFresh offers 25 plus recipes to choose from each week, from vegetarian meals to craft burgers and extra special gourmet options. There's something for everyone to enjoy, with all recipes designed and
It's
tested
just
by
funny
chefs
to listen
and nutritional
to
experts to ensure
Melinda, how
delicious
she's
and
talking about it.
simplicity.
You know,
I really
it's
love this
exactly
because
like
with
from
a
the show.
6-year-old, and
You know,
she's
the
in school,
tone
and
of the
there's
voice.
not much time, when she gets back to prepare or think about it, and it's every night, every day. It has been so helpful and has reduced my stress level when it comes to cooking.
Completely. I mean, you're a cook. I'm a cook, right?
Mhm.
Well, I think I love to cook but I love to go out to restaurants. But after the year that we've had, we all had to stay in and cook. And that was, I love it even more. But at some point I started repeating myself, and HelloFresh just helps with the variety. And I love the Cajun black and tilapia, the coconut curry fried rice. And there's a great vegetarian.
Don't worry,
cheeses and
Melinda.
fish
Everyone's
diet.
repeating
But,
while cooking
HelloFresh
in
just
this
feels so
horrible
healthy and satisfying.
moment
Go to
of our lives.
HelloFresh.com/OC12.
You're not alone.
OC12 for 12 free meals, including free shipping.
Go to HelloFresh.com/OC12 and use code OC12 for 12 free meals, including free shipping. America's #1 meal kit. Fox really wanted their next 90210, but I know that you're a fan more of Freaks and Geeks and So-Called Life. But do you feel like you snuck it by as a much more as a newer version of a soap, a teen soap? I mean, is that the definition that you would call it?
Yeah, I mean, to me, it was always more of a family drama, but it was definitely we were delivering on the teen drama side, coming of age story, teen soap, whatever you want to call it. And I feel like the network had certain parameters that they wanted us to be able to meet in terms of story and cliffhangers and angst and all that kind of stuff, love triangles, secrets. But it was also a great opportunity to explore family and friendship and having a male friendship dynamic at the center of the show was pretty unusual for a teen soap, and having a father and two sons dynamic, and then and having it be multi-generational, having it be as much about the parents as it was about the kids. And then obviously that became much more complicated when you started dating Luke, and then the parent-kid line just became very blurred.
Blurred lines.
Chris Carmack he has a line, I believe, where he's just like, your ass, right? Doesn't he say that? At some point,
I don't know.
there's something that he says
not
it's
there
very,
yet.
all right, later in the season. Anyway.
He's like, no
All right,
worries. But he
Hold-
really
hold-
is the epitome of the, I grew up in Dana Point, which was pretty close. And the water polo players did wear the puka shells and he played it very, very well.
I think like a big pressing question that most people want to know is why Chino?
Really?
Why
Most people
Chino?
want to know that? Have you researched this? Did you
Yes,
take
I've done
questions
some
from the crowd?
research. People want to know why.
I
Why did you
personally
go
wanna
Chino?
know
And
40
that
miles
too.
away as the crow flies.
Well, that's part of it. I mean, it was no knock on Chino, although I think we didn't, I mean, it definitely wasn't necessarily embraced at first. But then we were trying to be like, our hero is from Chino. It's like Nazareth.
a good thing.
Yeah. But it was, there was a prison in Chino. And so there was just sort of,
It made sense.
it made sense. But we definitely made, mostly it's Rachel's fault for saying you, Chino. But
Oh, right.
Oh,
right.
you
Yeah,
put
they
the blame
weren't
there's a
on
quite
lot
me.
of nice parts of Chino and no
I didn't
offense.
write
And
I delivered it,
you
but I
did
did not
deliver it.
write
That's
it.
true. That's true. I probably wrote it. But anyway,
Right.
it was just also that, it's no knock on Chino, which is like I said, has lots of nice parts to it. It was more of just living in the Newport Beach bubble and not being aware that anything else outside of your bubble could be recommended.
Right. I mean, it really is. There are some areas very close to Newport Beach that are very different.
Well, yeah, Newport is a bubble, and I guess that's exactly what you were trying to.
Convey
Yes.
that these kids have no sense of their lives outside of their own world.
Yeah.
And I would say, back to your thing about the tone, not to cut you
Yeah.
off.
No.
But the show became more self-aware as it went on. Like the pilot is pretty straightforward.
Right.
There's it's playing it pretty straight. And then pretty early on, we started deconstructing the show as we were going.
And you mentioned the Bible, which is kind of your plan for the show. But how much did it change after that
The only thing
in the future?
I should have I should have looked it up prior to coming here. And I'm sure Stephanie, when she comes, will be much more
She'll
prepared.
definitely be more prepared.
But also Rachel literally has no questions written down on her notepad. So I'm not really, it just says like
She
9
has
to
the same
5:30.
questions I do
Yeah.
on that.
That's
on
my
that.
notes from Briar's kindergarten meeting.
Okay, great. So she's super prepared. So therefore, I feel not bad at all for not having done my rereading of the Bible. I do remember that we had built in a cliffhanger. We knew that there was going to be a certain number of episodes that aired before the World Series, right? So we were going to be on in August,
Right.
and there was going to be like 7 episodes.
Fox does
and-
that. Yeah.
Yeah. And then we were going to be off the air for the World Series. And so we needed to do some crazy cliffhanger. And in that cliffhanger, there was a terrible car accident and Marissa's fate was up in the air. And then that evolved to becoming the Tijuana overdose
Oh, I was going
idea.
to say, the car accident, isn't that end
That
of...
was later. Yeah. And then the Tijuana episode kind of evolved. And
That was the
became a different-
cliffhanger when, for baseball, like you went off the air with that as
with
the
the
cliffhanger?
Tijuana cliffhanger of like
I should
Marissa.
know this.
You should know this. Yeah. If Marissa was, in Ryan's arms.
Right. I remember in the pilot, my favorite, I think, monologue of all time is, I stole a car, crashed it. My mom threw me, or whatever. I used to like know it verbatim because I feel like that's all I ever heard for months and months.
Which one?
But Ben's monologue when he meets Marissa. When he meets Misha.
Who are you? Whoever you want me to be.
Yeah, whoever you want me to be. I stole a car,
Which
crashed it, you know?
do you want to get
That's
into the
gorgeous.
episode?
Yeah, we should probably.
Should we?
You know, rewatch podcast. We should probably talk about
Sure. I'm ready.
the pilot itself.
Yeah.
Okay, kiddos. Troubled teen Ryan Atwood is arrested for stealing a car and meets public defender Sandy Cohen, who instantly takes an interest in the boy. After Ryan's mom kicks him out, Sandy brings Ryan home with him, introducing him to the affluent world of Orange County's Newport Beach. Trouble seems to follow Ryan, and while Sandy's son Seth is excited to have a new friend, his wife Kirsten ain't too happy. So
Was that accurate?
Yeah.
We open-
some of it.
the cold open
Mm-hmm.
is Ryan with his brother Trey stealing a car.
Yes.
Trey mysteriously
Trey is,
changes later.
Is definitely enjoying this, and Ryan doesn't seem to be enjoying this.
Well, that was important early on to indicate that Ryan, while on a not on
good boy.
the greatest path,
Was still a
had
good
like a-
guy. Like
yeah.
had
exactly.
a moral compass.
There you go. Exactly. And it was very confusing for people when we first, because every time you test when you make a pilot, then you have to go test it, and you sit and you watch an audience watch it, and everybody thought it was a cop show. They have no information when they're watching because the opening is so
Show.
in its own tone,
Yeah.
and So
I
people,
had a few friends thought, he was like, wait, is this the right show? Are we watching the right show? But you actually showed a very different world that from Newport Beach, obviously.
Yeah, and the pilot is really, I mean, there's a couple places where we break Ryan's POV, but it really is very tied to Ryan and seeing the world through his eyes. You know, there's a couple moments where you see Marissa, you know, independent of Ryan, dealing with some of the stuff with Jimmy Cooper.
Mm-hmm.
You see, obviously, this scene we were talking about, the Froyo scene, but almost all of it is through Ryan's eyes,
Right.
experiencing the world as he is. So it was important to start and have the audience be aware of where he was starting from.
It was a very intense scene for what people thought they were tuning into for a teen dramedy, or not a dramedy at the time. It was a teen soap. But then in Juvie, he gets to meet his PD, Sandy. And this was a great scene. I hear that this was this his audition scene, Ryan? Because he talks a little bit more than normal.
Yeah, definitely. It was definitely, yeah. I mean, that's probably on me, kind of setting up an inconsistent voice in the beginning for Ryan. But it was important to get his point of view out there because he is such an observer, and Ben is so good at bringing you into like what he's seeing. Like he's, you know, some actors are really good listeners and can be compelling even if they're not talking, which he can be. But we wanted him to have an opportunity early on to kind of state his cynicism and kind of play off of Peter. And Peter was the first person we cast in the show. And I was super excited to meet him because I was such a huge fan of all of his work, and having him as the first person cast and playing Sandy really sent the message that the adult part of the show was to be taken seriously. You know, that we were casting really credible, terrific actors to play these adult roles. And I remember we were all sitting in McGee's office meeting him for the first time. It was a journal meeting. And he was like, well, should we just read it? Should we just read it? And he did this scene as well. And it was very exciting for me to see it come to life.
It's really good rewatching these scenes. I was a little nervous. It's 18 years ago. We were in Pink Juicy, but it really holds up.
Yeah, I know.
Really,
It does.
really does.
Well, when Ben read for the part and he did that scene, did you know immediately that he was going to be Ryan?
Well, I mean, again, he was different than what we imagined for the part.
What did you imagine? What was like the visual to begin with? Just out of curiosity.
Who else was up for the role?
Who else was up for the role?
Not Adam
Garrett
Brody.
Hedlund
Really?
was up for the role. Yeah. I'm trying to remember. DJ Catrona, who ended up getting cast on another Fox show with Olivia Wilde, who was also...
That's right. Who was up for
it was
Marissa Cooper, right?
Yeah.
Olivia Wilde.
and Misha were the two finalists for Marissa.
That's right.
Yeah.
And Olivia had just moved out to LA. It was like one of her first auditions, and she was obviously super compelling and great, but just so strong. And like no one needed to, you know, it was hard to believe that she could be...
Well, Misha was 15 or 16
She was
when
quite young.
yeah.
And just had a bit more of that sort of tragic air to her, you know? But so back to Ben. So we had looked at a lot of people, and then actually he had read for a show for like a comedy, I feel like, for the then UPN.
Oh, wow.
And didn't get it. And one of the executives at Warner Brothers said, oh, we just saw this kid. He's really good. You should see him. So I think we were casting on a Saturday. And I remember walking up to the casting office. It was like me and Steph and Patrick Rush. And Ben was just outside. And I hope he's okay with me saying this, I believe he was smoking.
Maybe he just did that day to like come off more like
he was
character.
method acting.
Yeah,
maybe, I don't know. And he wasn't super like, I don't know if he was nervous, but he definitely was just like, gave us, you know, not a big warm hello. And it's like, oh, this guy's really interesting. Like it's a different way than we had sort of envisioned it in a way, but he was so good and he felt so soulful. And the key with Ryan is you have to understand why this family is willing to take him in and bet on him. Why, even though he's constantly getting into these situations like the car or fights or what have you, he's got this kind of moral code, and that's what's driving it. His heart's in the right place, even though it always blows, not blows up in his face, but can go sideways or he gets in trouble for a lot of it. Then you have to sympathize with him. And he was just so sympathetic. And, again, in later episodes, like episode 3, when the family adopts him finally, his little smile is It's really heartbreaking.
I know.
Yeah.
Isn't he like, there's a moment where he's like, Mom, where am I supposed to go? And it's so like, you feel, I don't remember if that's the pilot or
That's the pilot.
It is
yeah.
the pilot where,
Mhm.
and the way he delivered it. And like, as a mom myself, my heart just broke and I was sobbing. But just how he played it and portrayed it, you feel for him. And I think that was so important for Ryan. Like, you have to feel for him because you want to root for him and understand why he is being brought in,
Mhm.
which is what
I
basically
absolutely
you're
agree.
saying.
That scene as a
Melinda
mother, and now
agrees
seeing
with
this differently, but that's when I actually saw this scared 16-year-old boy. Get out, Ryan. Mom, where do I go? That was heart-wrenching. You did a really good job of conveying to the audience just this terrible plight that he's going through so that we were rooting for him from the beginning. Very much so. But
Adam wanted to read for Ben,
Oh,
for Ryan.
Yeah.
He
originally.
did?
Yeah, he did.
Well, talk about that. Talk about the Adam casting process.
So Seth, and again, admittedly, my fault, was way nerdier in the pilot. Like originally the Coens were called the Needlemans. Like he was much, much nerdier. And the network had the note, which wasn't wrong, of like, he's a little too nerdy.
A little
like,
too dweeby.
We need this guy to be a co-romantic lead of the show.
Right.
He's he and Ben.
And then his opening shot, like playing video games, is like he's such like a little goober,
But Adam is like, has such natural swagger and it's cool and good looking and funny. And like he was able, so him playing against that was really charming. So you totally believed him as the nerd. Especially in that world where like Luke is the ideal. You understood why Seth didn't fit in. But you also understood why, a few episodes in, he had like Summer and Anna both fighting for him. Because, Brody could pull that off. But when he first came in and read, I've told this story before, but he had, I think it was the middle of pilot season. You guys are all reading for a million things and going to a million auditions. And he didn't really know any of the words to the scene. Like he was kind of.
I've been there. It happens.
And I was kind of like, harumph. Like, how dare you come in here and not know the words? And so we kept seeing other people after that. And Patrick was like, there's something about Adam. We got to bring him back in. Let him get a little more prepared. And then when he came back in, it was like, oh yeah, this guy's fantastic. And as soon as the network saw him, I'd rewritten the part somewhat to make him less nerdy, although they wanted him to be more of a beautiful dreamer was the note. And so he had a whole thing about sailing and
to Tahiti
and some of that stuff to answer that.
That was his audition scene too.
Exactly.
On the boat?
I believe that was one of them. Yeah.
Yeah.
And, but anyway, that he came in and they all fell in love with him and he was so funny and charming and believable, but also you could also buy him as a co-romantic lead and obviously occupying a very different lane than Ryan. And it was definitely like for the female audience, it was like Team Ryan or Team Seth.
Yeah.
Or Team Luke.
I think when I saw that scene when we actually got to see the pilot,
in next
because
season.
I've read the script, you have an image of what it's going to be. I was so excited. Like, I think that was the first scene where I went, this is totally different. Adam is so endearing. He's got such an original quality to him. And this is my question then, is how much of you is in Seth?
I mean, it started out, I guess, as my way into the show, as I was saying, like as an East Coast Jewish kid, like surrounded by these water polo players. But very quickly, it became about writing to Adam's voice, and just anything that I would say, if he said it, it was just cooler, and he would put his own spin on it. And we always gave room for improv, for everybody. And wanted to create those spaces of like, do it as scripted. And now, all right, here's one for you. Or if you have an idea, let's hear it, and so often he would bring, some new spin on the line or come up with some other line that was better, or you guys would be riffing.
Yeah.
And that was super fun. I mean, that was part of it. So it was really, I guess it started as my point of view and then it kind of just became about writing to him.
I have to say for me.
And the Death Cab thing is his.
Oh, Death Cab was all him.
It was something, again, that I overheard one night when we were all hanging out, and then it's just wrote
You really
into the
just
show.
hung out with us just to
Get
eavesdrop.
material.
Yeah, to get material.
For sure. Yeah.
But for me, working with Adam, I mean, that was my first thing. And I learned so much from him because he was so confident in like everything he did. He's obviously incredibly talented and really funny and just across the board though, so good. So I was fortunate for my first experience, to work with all of you guys, people that were all so talented. that I'm like so grateful for it because I feel like it prepped me for, my next moves, I guess,
Nice.
so to speak. My
Okay.
next moves in
Great.
my
I'm glad we
career.
could just prepare you for stuff.
We actors, we always, we're only as good as, the actors around us. And we learn from the actors. And as like Peter, it was really great I always thought you just like, we would look each other in the eye and you can just see how present he was as an
Peter
actor.
was having such a good time. He was having a blast.
I was too.
Oh, so was
I
Melinda.
was too. You
Yeah,
could tell
no.
I was having a lot of fun.
You could,
But-
and you could feel it. You could feel like how much fun and the chemistry of the whole cast. I mean, I think that's really
That's
more
what
than anything
makes a
else.
show,
More
right?
than anything else, that's why the show connected with people was because so they could feel that chemistry.
It was magic.
Yeah.
Right.
After the emotionally
So guys, that's first part of the episode. I think it's pretty nice talking. Perfect. My reaction to this is that some of the informations I already known, but some not. And these tips and infos are so cool. So keep going in these episodes. And for right now, I'm a little bit tired. So we will see each other in next part of this episode. So I will divide this episode into 3 videos, into 3 parts. So from me, it's everything right now, and we will see you in next part in a few minutes. See ya.